take a slow, deep breath. This message is for anyone who feels that something has shifted as the year changed, not dramatically, not loudly, but quietly, internally, in a way that is difficult to explain. You may have expected a sense of renewal, motivation, or excitement as the new year began. Instead, you feel slower, more reflective, perhaps emotionally sensitive, tired, or disconnected from the pressure to start fresh. There is nothing wrong with you. Energy does not follow calendars. It does not reset at midnight. It moves through layers, emotional, physical, and energetic, long before it becomes visible in your external life. When the energy of a year shifts, the first thing that changes is not your circumstances, but your internal orientation toward life. This message is here to help you understand what is happening, why it feels the way it does, and how to move through this transition without forcing clarity or direction before it is ready. Trust what resonates. Allow the rest to pass. How energy actually moves from one year to the next. One of the biggest misunderstandings about time and energy is the belief that a year ends cleanly and another begins immediately. Energetically, this is almost never the case. What usually happens instead is a gradual unwinding of the previous cycle. Experiences that were emotionally postponed begin to surface. The nervous system releases tension that it was holding just to get through. The body finally asks for rest after months of effort, adaptation, or survival. This is why the beginning of a new year can feel heavy, slow, or strangely empty. You are not losing momentum, you are integrating. Before a new energetic pattern stabilizes, the old one must loosen its grip. That in-between space often feels uncomfortable because it lacks definition. You may notice difficulty setting goals that feel real resistance to making decisions, emotional waves, without a clear cause, a desire to withdraw or simplify. This is not a lack of direction. This is a necessary pause between cycles. The energy of a new year first asks you to release, not to build. Why forcing a new start creates resistance? During energetic transitions, many people make the same mistake. They try to force alignment. They push themselves to define who they are becoming before they have fully released who they were. They adopt goals, routines, or identities that sound right intellectually, but feel heavy emotionally. This creates internal resistance. Energy responds poorly to pressure. It responds to honesty, presence, and pacing. Another layer of resistance comes from comparison. You may look around and feel that others are moving forward more confidently, more decisively, more visibly. But energy is not collective in its timing. Each person enters a new cycle differently, based on what they are completing internally. When you rush this process, you disconnect from intuition. When you slow down, intuition becomes audible again. The purpose of this phase is not to figure everything out. It is to create enough internal space for clarity to emerge naturally. What to do when the energy of the year shifts. When energy shifts, the most supportive response is simplification. This is not a time for dramatic reinvention. It is a time to stabilize your inner environment. Focus on what is sustainable, not what is impressive. Instead of asking, "What should I accomplish this year?" ask, "What helps my nervous system feel safe enough to move forward?" Consistency matters more than intensity during transitions. Simple grounding practices become powerful. Regular sleep rhythms, gentle movement reducing unnecessary stimulation, creating physical order in your environment. You may feel drawn to letting go, not just of objects, but of expectations, commitments, or roles that no longer feel aligned. Honor that. Energy often communicates through discomfort before it communicates through clarity. When something feels heavy, it is usually because it no longer belongs in the next phase. Alignment is not about becoming someone new overnight. It is about returning to yourself slowly and honestly. When you stop forcing direction, direction begins to reveal itself. Signs. You are moving into alignment. As the energy of the new year begins to settle, subtle shifts appear. You may notice that, Emotional reactions soften, urgency fades, certain desires lose their charge, decisions feel less pressured. Alignment rarely arrives as excitement at first. It arrives as relief. Relief that you don't need to push. Relief that you don't need to carry everything forward. Relief that clarity can arrive gradually. This is when momentum returns, not as chaos, but as steadiness. You begin to move again, but your actions feel cleaner. Your choices feel intentional rather than reactive. This is the kind of movement that creates lasting change, moving forward without rushing the process. The most important thing to remember during an energetic transition is this: you are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing to begin. You are transitioning. The new year does not ask you to become more productive. It asks you to become more truthful. Truthful about your limits. Truthful about what drains you. Truthful about what no longer fits the life you are moving toward. When you respect this process, life reorganizes itself naturally. You don't need to chase the next chapter. You need to make space for it. Final message. Closing the energy. If you feel quieter than expected, trust that. If you feel uncertain, trust that too. Energy shifts are subtle, intelligent, and deeply personal. They do not announce themselves loudly. The fact that you are noticing this change means you are listening. As this year continues to unfold, allow yourself to move gently. Clarity will come, not because you forced it, but because you created space for it. Thank you for being here. Trust what resonates. Allow the rest to fall away. If this message resonated with you, you're welcome to stay. You can subscribe to this channel for future astrology insights and collective messages. Only if it feels right for you.